It's January 2022, and it is a perfect time for us to begin a new series on this channel. Month by month, I'm going to be bringing to you a video on what to do in the garden, what to plant, what we're harvesting, little odd jobs that you could be doing at what time of year. I found that really helpful for me as a beginning gardener, having a month by month sort of plan, and I figure why not just document what's going on month by month here in East Hawaii, so that all of us can perhaps learn from each other and grow more food. So I'm going to take the initiative and I'm going to start here. My place right now, it's been a little neglected the past couple months. I've been working more on some building projects inside the house. I introduced some sheep and they have done a good job pruning back a lot of stuff, maybe more than I've wanted them to. And so things are a little neglected, but that's perfect time for kind of starting off in the garden right here in January. January here in Hawaii is typically a rainy month, but this year, 2022, it's been pretty clear most days so far. It's the middle of January now, and I'd have to say we've maybe only had a couple days of rain, maybe 2 or 3. And normally we're just kind of pretty socked in with rain at this point. So it's been a pretty nice change to have a nice January, but we also would love to have the water fall again. But it makes it for a nice time to get out into the garden. We're not really planting much during this time of year. Traditionally, this time of year is right in the middle of the makahiki season, which is a time when Hawaiians took a break from things, from farming, from work, from war, and kind of celebrated the abundance and the harvest. And right now is a really abundant time in the garden. There's a lot of stuff to harvest. Some things you can harvest from your garden right now in January here in Hawaii are avocados, Suriname cherries, almost any kind of citrus you can imagine, oranges, mandarins, lemons, limes, they're all going off right now. We have star fruit, lilikoi, papaya, which is always producing, coconuts and bananas, those pretty much go year round. Mac nuts are right now being harvested, they're in season. We have chili peppers, bell peppers, could even have some tomatoes in some places right now in the garden. Collards are always producing. Kale, winter is a good time for kale. It kind of slows down in the summer here. Any sort of greens, lettuces. Right now, if you sowed those plants in the late summer to early fall, you'll be having a pretty good harvest of all those guys. We also have green sapote in season right now, jabota kaba, sugar cane, ginger, vanilla, rambutan, wheat apple, mangosteen, Brazilian apple, durian, dragon fruit, long beans, even mangoes are in season right now, depending on where you live and what varieties you have planted. Isn't that amazing? No wonder the winter was considered a time of rest and just to enjoy the abundance, as opposed to the constant work that we're used to doing. That abundance is what is waiting for us here in Hawaii. And all we have to do is just tap into it by starting to grow some plants. And right now, it's not the best time for planting plants, for planting seeds or whatnot, but you can do air layerings of plants that you may have already. Air layering ulu or lychee or pretty much any other plant in your garden right now is a great time to do that. Air layering bamboo. I love to take advantage of the wet season. It tends to keep your air layers a little more moist. I found it to be more successful for me when I'm air layering and propagating more trees that way. As for seeds, you can propagate some seeds in your annual garden right now. Mostly lettuces, radishes, you could do some daikons. Kale and carrots are good right now. Papaya, any seed from any fruit that's in season at the current moment right now is always good to plant. You could get chard, green onions, kabocha, pigeon pea. You could get all these plants started right now in January in your garden. You know, this is a good time to plant those plants, but for me, I wait a little bit longer till like mid-February till I really get into sort of any planting of anything. Now, if you took advantage of planting any perennials like sweet potato, kalo, cassava back in late spring, early summer, you might be able to be harvesting these plants right now. They take about 9 to 12 months before they're ready. So if you did plant around that time, expect a pretty big harvest of roots and tubers and all sorts of goodness to add to your stash. So the chickens at my place are laying eggs. In fact, they're even having babies right now. I got plenty of eggs to harvest right now in this month of January. I have my chickens running wild, and so it may be different for those who keep their chickens in a coop. But right now they are laying, and I am finding eggs everywhere and little babies. And that tends to just be the case kind of all year round around here, it seems. There are like 3 flushes of babies that come out every year. And just before those times, the egg production really kicks into high gear. But I tend to find eggs throughout the year, if I'm lucky, if I'm looking, right? We also have sheep here we introduced recently, and they've been a fun project. I don't know if we'll keep them here long term. What turned into animals that I thought would just kind of be grass eaters turned into animals that love to eat almost everything, which I thought that's what goats were known for. But the sheep that I got here are big, heavy eaters on pretty much almost anything. There are some plants they don't like. There are some plants they go for others. The grass is like the lowest on their list. The tea leaves are the highest on their list. And there's so much that they eat that I just wasn't aware of. Every time you think about sheep, you think about them out in pasture just eating grass. But my question now is, are sheep really meant to just be grass fed? Maybe they want more food than we're actually giving them, because these guys, they have definitely been taking advantage of everything else but the grass. And the grass is like, I guess we'll eat that now. So yeah, it's been fun. It's nice watching them. It's kind of cathartic watching the sheep do their thing while they're destroying something you worked hard to grow. But yeah, that's the sheep in a nutshell. It's been fun, but unless you don't really want them to eat all the understory plants in your food forest, then maybe they don't fit in there. Learning lesson, right? We all learn something. There's my cat messing with my tripod, always looking for attention. All right. Now, what I like about winter a little more than rest of the year is this is the time to get some odd jobs done that you don't normally have a time to get done the rest of the year. Here in January, I'll tend to be doing jobs like spreading mulch, spreading fertilizers. I'll send out my first batch of fertilizers in January, some dolomite, some bone meal, fish meal. I'll spray some compost tea. If I have any compost ready, I'll get that out into the garden. I like to do that 3 times per year, and January is the first time I do that for the season. I also like to use this time to finish up any pruning that I didn't get done. In the winter, it's good to let the sun in more than shade the ground. You want to allow the plants to dry out a bit more between rains. So I like to open the canopy up just before the winter and continue during the winter by cutting back my nitrogen fixing trees pretty heavily. Any junk trees that might be around the property, any rogue coconut palm leaves, or any other trees, ulu or mountain apple, that are just getting out of control. This is the time I take to go and prune them, and I pretty much just drop the clippings all around the yard. The winter's a good time to do all that because all those droppings that you're putting down on the ground, that water is going to help break all that material down even faster so that it could turn the soil for you even quicker. I also like to take this time to do any crop planning, figuring out what I might need to grow for the next year. And I know for me on this property, I want a goal to grow more starches, more sweet potatoes, more kalo, more cassava. I want to have that really kicking to augment the greens and the fruit and other sorts of vegetables that we're getting from the garden. I'm also taking this time to do garden cleanup. You know, sometimes there's just a mess left from stuff throughout the months, and you let it neglect. So this is a good time to go around and spruce up the yard and just clean up any messes and whatnot. Like I said earlier, I'm deep into building projects. This is a great time of year to do any of that. If you got some garden projects, you want to build a shed or a house for some animals or whatnot, this would be a great time because you're not really doing much in the garden. Things are growing much slower this time of year, so it gives you a break from having to be constantly cutting back and plant and just kind of keep the jungle at bay. Taking care of your tools right now and organizing them on a rainy day. If you have a tool shed, just go in there, fix your chainsaws, make sure your saws all have sharp blades, make sure all your tools are organized and working. This is a great time to do that. And also because of the rains, I like to walk around in the rains and kind of see where puddles are forming and whatnot, where water is being captured, where I don't want it to, where possible mosquito breeding areas might be occurring. I like to get rid of all those areas. The water generally flows really quickly through the ground. It doesn't stay more than 24 hours, and that's not long enough for mosquitoes to breed. But there'll be coconuts that are catching water, little half-shelled coconuts, or there are certain plants that store water in their leaves, and I want to make sure I'm getting rid of all of those. There's areas where leaves fall, and that creates a puddle, and that little puddle of water is just enough for a mosquito to breed their little larvae. And I just like to make sure I'm going around and getting rid of all of that because mosquitoes, you know, they're prevalent, so you got to do what you can to keep them at bay, right? Now it's been pretty dry, and if you have dry spells during this month, a good thing to do is to perhaps take care of any pest prevention that you might have to take care of. Fire ants. Recently we've had these white flies attack our avocado trees, and they decimate the leaves. Unfortunately, they're having an adverse effect on the fruit quality. I'm getting a lot of avocados off this tree here, but you know, they're a little sunburned, or they are falling down just a little bit prematurely. And so you can spray with soaps and sort of non-toxic pesticides to try and mitigate the lacewing. But for me, I'm choosing to add a lot of mulch to kind of mitigate the loss of the leaf. I want to encourage a lot of nitrogen so that this tree will have the ability to fight off the leaf loss and to regrow and regenerate its leaf canopy. And I'm hoping that's what'll work, because this tree is huge and there's no way I'm going to be able to spray all these leaves to be able to mitigate these lacewings that are attacking the avocado. So I've heard that be a strategy. But if you have any other pests in your garden, take advantage of any clear weather, because they're moving more slowly. They're kind of huddled up more in their homes right now, and it's a good time to attack, to get rid of those little buggers, right? All right, well, that's January here in Hawaii. Depending on where you live, you may have different things ready to harvest or different things ready to plant. But generally, this is what we got going on in Hawaii at this time of year. I took a survey from folks across different parts of the islands to hear what they had ready to harvest and what they're seeding. Generally, most people answering were from the Big Island here in East Hawaii, but there were a few others out there that did add to the harvest list, and it generally was the same as what the rest of us are harvesting. Here's my shot at giving you a monthly rundown for the month of January. If I miss anything, if you want to know anything else, if you have anything to add, please leave a comment down below. And before you leave right now, I know you're about to leave, hit that like button, okay? That really helps this channel grow. So I know if any of you have been following me for a while, I've been kind of MIA for the last month or so. I've just been taking a break. It's nice to take a break from making videos. I may just be doing 1 or 2 a month here for a little while, but then I hope to be pumping out a few more in a little bit once I get caught up on a few other projects. So, but for now, month by month, stay tuned. For February, we're going to show another what we're doing in the garden here in East Hawaii and beyond. And I hope you stick around to follow. So thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, ahui ho.